So we are joined this morning by Eric's mother, Gwen Carr, and Reverend Kirsten John Foy from the Ark of Justice. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Gwen, let me start with you. Were you surprised by that yesterday?
Well, I had mixed emotions as he was bringing forth the decision, because at one time it sounded like he wasn't, then again it sounded like he was, so my emotions are getting, was overflowing.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling a bit of relief, but there's more work we have to do. There's other officers on the force who was involved in my son's death that day, and we have to go after them because they all caused my son's death. It wasn't only Pantaleo.
The mayor had said yesterday, he came out and said justice was served, but it took a long time, 5 long years to get that. Were you surprised to hear the mayor use the term justice since he kind of backed off things for the past 5 years?
It's not justice yet. It's a step in the right direction, but justice will come when all the officers stand accountable for their wrongdoing that day. Then we could have some sense of justice. And there's a long way to go with that. We even have Kizzy Adonis, who was charged that there is no court date set for her. There is nothing going forward with her. So,
who is this?
Kizzy Adonis, yes.
And that's the other officer that was involved?
Yes, the sergeant.
Well, there were several.
So
there were several.
So what are the next steps, Kirsten, then, to make sure that those officers, for the family, get, the family sees justice in terms of these other officers?
Well, we need to make sure that the CCRB is allowed to go forward with setting a trial date for the officer that already has charges, and we need to make sure that the other officers that were involved have charges and face accountability for their actions. So, for instance, many of the officers filed false reports stating that Eric had something upwards of 10,000 cigarettes, which was the predicate they used for stopping him, which we know to be false. We also know that there was a grand jury that refused to indict. Well, maybe those officers perjured themselves. We need the district attorney to release the transcript of the grand jury. And then finally, there's an opportunity for this new district attorney to impanel a new grand jury to present the evidence before a new grand jury in light of the decisions of the department.
There's a lot of legal back and forth. Pantaleo says he's going to appeal it as well. You have other cases coming up with this. Let me ask you about this. PBA president lashed out following this. Take a listen to what he had to say, and I want to get your reaction on the back end.
The leadership has abandoned ship and left our police officers on the street, alone, without backing. We are asking for a no confidence vote in the mayor and the police commissioner of the city of New York.
What do you think about that?
It's terrible to have a person like that as a union rep. I mean, he has no compassion. He's talking all about the police. That police officer murdered my son.
Right.
He never speaks about that. It's always negativity when it comes to him speaking about Eric. But his police officer, who had 3 charges, they had to pay 3 lawsuits because of this officer, and he's a decorated officer in their eyes.
Well, and it's interesting, if you juxtapose the PBA's press conference with our press conference, you can see a stark contrast. You mean to tell me you couldn't find any women to stand with you? You couldn't find any people of color who wear the badge to stand with you? This was an all-white men's show, and Bam Bam, who Pat Lynch seems to be channeling, is just out there drumming up emotions, but not dealing with the reality that this officer actually caused the death of Eric Garner.
And there was a stark difference in terms of rhetoric, too, and demeanor in the difference of press conferences as well. But Gwen, I want to give you the last word here. What are your thoughts about the NYPD? What do you want New York City as a whole, who really was with you this entire journey, to know about your thoughts when it comes to NYPD?
I want NYPD to take a stand and their superiors to hold their officers accountable when necessary. It can't be a one-way street. It looks like we are always the bad person. No, it's not like that. You see, these officers are killing so many unarmed people. You know, make them stand accountable. Let them know that there are penalties when it comes to this.
And do you think that happened?
Huh? Well, yes, like I said, that's a step in the right direction. The commissioner, he did the right thing.
All right. We'll see where it goes from here. Thank you both for joining us today. We do appreciate
Always
it.
appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thank you.
All right.